This is Josh Friedman in Mitrovica, Kosovo, where tensions very much remain despite there being some considerable progress made in bridging the divide both physically and socially between the Serb community of the north, where I'm standing right now, and the Albanian community of the south, which you can't really see at the moment as I'm standing with this barricade behind me, which I'll get to momentarily. What's happening right now is there is a fairly large protest going on. I believe the main point or main issue that the Serbs here in the north are protesting is that the agreement to create an association of Serb municipalities has yet to come to fruition. So there was an EU brokered agreement several years ago between Serbia and Kosovo on the creation of an association of Serb municipalities in Kosovo, which would give some degree of autonomy to the various Serb communities and municipalities within Kosovo. And the allegation on this side of the bridge, which you cannot see right now on the fence, which is right here, is that both the Albanians of Kosovo and the EU have been dragging their feet and not fulfilling their word and their promise to create this association of municipalities. But there's very much been other tension in recent weeks and months. As I discussed from southern Serbia last month, there had been recent talk about a potential land swap between Serbia and Kosovo. And if that were to be the case, then the north of Kosovo, possibly including where I'm standing right now, although it's kind of unlikely, would be swapped for the Preševo area in southern Serbia. Now, it seems like there's overwhelming opposition to the proposal at the moment, but as this has come up and been in the news in recent weeks, tensions have escalated. The president of Kosovo, Hashim Taci, visited the north here, and that got a lot of people angry. They were saying that's a provocation. And so all throughout really recent weeks, but of course over the years, there's been an incredible amount of tension, particularly right here in the middle of Mitrovica, where the north meets the south. So some of the new developments that I would say might be a sign of hope, at least in the case of the EU, if not in the case of these two communities putting aside their differences. Right over here, can't really see it at the moment, but a new EU outreach office has been set up. Likewise, the construction or refurbishment of the Mitrovica Bridge, which has long been the site of violent clashes. The refurbishment was funded by the EU. That is now complete. I'll walk over to the bridge right now to show you how it looks at the moment. Also, an EU-funded bus station recently opened here on the north side, and there's been a lot of refurbishments in the area surrounding the bridge as well. You can see there's now a new traffic circle here. You can also probably see that there are KFOR, the NATO forces who have been here ever since the war. They're stationed to keep the peace as protests like this could and have in the past escalated into violent clashes. You can now see everyone departing the protest on the main pedestrian street here. It was interesting walking up and down the pedestrian street a few minutes ago. You could really see just how many people were here at the demonstration, at least how many people with respect to the overall population of North Mitrovica, which isn't that large. So as I was walking around, I saw plenty of people in scrubs. I mean, it seemed like the hospital staffs or hospital staff had emptied out, and the doctors and nurses were all here at the protest. The cafes right along the pedestrian street had people sitting in them, but they're all closed. They weren't serving during the protests, so pretty much it seemed as though all of the businesses in town shut down for a half hour, maybe an hour, that's ongoing at the moment, for people to come to this protest. And I'll also note that they started the protest at 12:44 p.m. That's why, well, I'll explain why momentarily, but that's why everyone would typically be at work or maybe at lunch at that time. They started at 12:44. It's symbolic for the Kosovo Serbs. The number 1244 refers to the United Nations Resolution 1244, which basically brought the war in Kosovo to an end, and basically stated that Kosovo is still part of Syria, excuse me. People were joking about that earlier, how some people mix up Serbia and Syria. How Kosovo is still part of Serbia, but it would be under international administration. And to the Serbs here, that's very much different than what's happened over the past couple decades, where Kosovo has declared independence and it's become closer and closer to being recognized internationally as an independent country. Anyway, so here is the refurbished and reopened Mitrovica Bridge. I've shot videos here in the past. For years, there would be some sort of blockade in this area put up by the Serbs. A blockade, if not, they had a peace park there, as they called it at one point. You can see here the traffic circle. So the bridge is closed to vehicle traffic, but it is open to pedestrian traffic. And throughout the day today, I've noticed quite a few people going back and forth. I'm hearing Serbian being spoken in cafes on the Albanian side. It's quite clear from talking to people that there's an increasing amount of people going back and forth between the two sides, and in that sense it seems like the ethnic tensions are decreasing, and the communities are starting to get along with one another. But at the same time, you can see when basically the entire city that is North Mitrovica empties out at lunchtime to hold a protest basically against the Albanians of Kosovo, then clearly tensions still remain. And you can see their KFOR, I don't know how well you can see because of the glare, but their KFOR troops stationed all over the place here, just in case things happen to get violent. So yeah, on the one hand, the EU has funded the refurbishment of this bridge. They've now got an outreach office open over here, and apparently that outreach office is putting on all kinds of programs for the Kosovo Serbs, who you'd think would be quite opposed to the EU, and they sound as such in their rhetoric during the protest and anger over the municipalities agreement not being implemented. But at the same time, I guess Serbs in the north are starting to go to EU events. The EU's made the place look, I'd say, a lot nicer here in recent years. Albanians are going to the north, some occasionally. Some have spent a lot of time there in the past. Serbs are going to the south somewhat, not all of them, but I mean, it's quite clear that there is movement back and forth across the bridge. So yeah, that's where things basically stand right now in Mitrovica. It's still very tense, but it seems like there are improvements, and it seems like things are getting more peaceful. But at any time, tensions could erupt, violence could break out, and with Serbia and Kosovo being engaged right now in talks over trying to strike some final deal on normalization and even with the mere suggestion of a land swap being considered, that makes things a lot more tense. The people in Kosovo, and the Albanians in Kosovo are very much opposed to that. So, yeah, things do remain tense, but I would say that they're also, the tension's starting to diffuse a little bit and things are getting a little more peaceful, but you get the picture. This is North Mitrovica, and there are not a lot of places like this in the world. Maybe Nicosia and Cyprus. That's a divided city and divided capital. But Mitrovica is pretty unique. So I'll give you a look at the Ibar River from the refurbished Mitrovica bridge, and I will call this a wrap from Mitrovica, Kosovo. Ciao.